What's it like to grab a win like this, especially because it's not the first time you guys beat the champions, here in TD Garden, to do it in their house in such a way where you created that gap in those last couple of minutes or so. What was that like?
It was a lot of fun, It was a hard-fought game, the whole 48 minutes, so we never take games or wins like this for granted.
Could you feel the frustration from the Celtics in the sense of just the chippiness and just the way they play, transition defense and that kind of thing?
Definitely, we stuck with it and we fought back, the whole game. They threw their punches and we threw ours right back. So you definitely feel that from the opposing team.
Cason, this feel similar to maybe some past games where maybe teams have hit some threes early, but you all just maintained, focus and discipline on your game plan and ended up paying dividends for you later?
Definitely, shout out to the coaches for giving us great game plans and, us not losing trust in it. They started off very hot and, a little doubt creeped in, like, do we need to change stuff up? But they was like, nah, stick with it. So we stuck with it and got the outcome we wanted.
Did you know that they didn't make it to the entire first quarter?
Definitely. It definitely stood out.
What goes through your mind when that dynamic takes place? Because, obviously, not giving up stuff at the rim is a kind of huge factor of what you want to do on defense.
Threes are worth more than twos. So when they made those, they were very loud. And, of course, you feel them a little more. But keeping them out the paint and not letting them score at the rim is also a big challenge, So I feel like it was pretty good. They didn't shoot the same way they did in the first half the whole game. So it played into our hand.
And then I just want to ask about your playmaking and, offense, particularly late. They started to double Shai and it seemed like you were just such a great next man to make the play. How have you felt growth in that area of your game?
Just making the right play, They showed me gaps and I attacked them. And, instincts to take over the rest.
No J-Dub tonight, no Alex Caruso. You guys are no stranger to adversity or injuries, but you had 7 guys in double figures tonight, and a lot of different guys stepped up. What does this game say about the depth of this team?
We got the next man up mentality. We'll never have a drop off, no matter who comes in the game. So, us being competitors and like playing with the spirit that we play with, it could be anybody night, and we all know that. And everybody had a hand in today's win.
So they took a franchise record number of threes, but you guys were contesting a lot of them. You had a lot of tight contests even in that first quarter where they took an insane number. How difficult is it to be that on a string against a team that moves the ball the way they do? And how hard is it to continue to be good at contesting threes when a team takes over 60 of them?
It's definitely a challenge, but that's something that's kind of our identity. We don't let you get wide open shots. We try to contest every shot. And that we were tight in our shell, and we were still getting late contests on the guys. So, we just got to tip our hat to them.
Cason, Joe Mazzulla was quoted after the game saying that you guys live at the free throw line. Obviously, he's not the first coach to sort of point that out, but the numbers and the free throw rate you guys have had this year, and maybe it doesn't agree with some of those sentiments. Why do you think there's a difference in sort of the perception of the teams you play and you guys and how many free throws you think you get versus what other teams think?
I feel like, other teams get the same or close to the same whistle as us. As a defender, I get a lot of fouls that I feel like aren't fouls, and they go to the line against me. So, everybody got something to say, but he's got a hoop at the end of the day.
Anybody else? Thank you guys so much.
Thank
you. Obviously, coming off a loss on Monday, I know you guys wanted to turn things around today. You look like you were pretty motivated to do that from the jump. What did you sort of see that allowed you to have the success you guys have, and how did it feel to come in and have this kind of performance as a group against the defending champs?
Yeah, obviously losing isn't fun. You know, we don't come into any game with any type of mindset around losing. You know, we're trying to win every single game, and you know, that mindset's reinforced after, you know, we have a loss, you know, especially a loss at home. And, you know, we just really wanted to come out and, you know, kind of set the tone. And I feel like from the jump, you know, we had the energy. And, you know, even when they made big plays early in the game, you know, I feel like we kept that going throughout the game. And towards the end, it turned in our favor.
You were really crucial in those minutes where SGA was on the bench. Obviously, without J-Dub out there, there's a huge offensive responsibility. How did you know, establish yourself and try to take over, while also like letting the game come to you?
Yeah, by not trying to think of the game that way. You know, not try to think who's on the bench, who's in the game. Just trying to think what we want to accomplish as a team. And if all five of us out there can get on the same page and do that, then, you know, I feel like we can make really good plays. And, you know, all the plays on the offensive end in those minutes that I think, you know, ended up leading to buckets, you know, a lot of them were off passes or quick attacks. It wasn't anybody out there trying to, you know, quote unquote, take over the game. You know, we were kind of just playing together, letting the game come to us. And, you know, that made it really hard on the other team because they couldn't just kind of load up and, you know, play 5-on-1. You know, they had to guard everybody. Everybody was a threat, and, you know, it worked out well for us.
Chet, you're just coming from a long injury. How is the bonding with the team? How confident are you playing?
Yeah, I'd say I'm extremely confident. I'm always confident. It's more so just kind of figuring out the rhythm of what we're doing, you know, because we have a really high-level team. You know, we win at a high level. So trying to come in and be assertive and confident, but also not disrupt a lot of the really good things that we're doing well, kind of just try and fit and mesh with what we're doing and try and kind of lift the floor of how good we can be.
What do you think of the team compared to the last season?
I think we got a couple new guys that made our team a lot better, but I also think everybody that returned, you know, worked their tail off this summer and came back even better. And, you know, every time we go out and play a game, you know, I feel like we're all learning from it. We're all getting better. Other teams are doing different things, trying to find something that works against us. And a lot of times when teams do find something, it doesn't work for long because we learn from those instances. So, you know, we're always continuing to get better. I think, you know, our team next game is going to be better than our team was today. So that's the goal.
Chet, obviously with tonight, you guys clinch a playoff spot. I don't think we ever managed to ask you like what that was like for you after, you know, while you were missing all that time to see the team capable of stacking so many wins, and what is it like for you now to be part of a team that can clinch a spot in March?
I mean, it was nothing surprising to me. I knew the type of dudes that we got on this team, the type of talent that we have on this team, and then, you know, the coaching staff as well. You know, from top to bottom, you know, everybody's high level, and we've seen it all year, not only with myself, but, you know, our lineups, we've got to have the most different lineups in the NBA at this point, just with guys going out with injuries, coming back, you know, at different times. We've been all over the place, and, you know, I think that's credit to everybody. You know, it's been a next man up thing. Everybody's ready for their opportunity and, you know, ready to make the most out of it. And, you know, we're all bought into trying to do it the right way. So.
And I know we've talked about how there's probably nothing else new that you can see, and you guys have probably seen everything, but the spots on the floor that they were funneling Shai to and kind of the things they wanted to do, I don't know if you thought that was new, but just how do you think he responded to the way they were trying to defend him?
Yeah, I feel like we've seen a lot of the coverage that we saw tonight. We've seen it before, and, you know, Shai was amazing in those inside those plays, I guess. You know, he made the right reads. He scored when he needed to score. He passed when he needed to pass. Made the right pass to the right person at the right time. You know, I can't recall him turning the ball over in any of those, half court squeezes or doubles, where they were just kind of trying to throw bodies at him. He made the right plays, and, they were all winning plays. They ended up being scoring plays a lot for us. And, if we continue to do that and he continues to trust it, teams are going to, do those coverages less because at the end of the day, giving up layups and open threes, if it's not going to win you the game, they're not going to do it. So,
Chet, how significant is this win? I mean, the last time you guys faced the Celtics, do it here in their house and with you in uniform this time. Just how significant is it in terms of beating the champions twice and then, just overall growth as a team?
Yeah, obviously there's always, added kind of juice to the game playing the defending champions. I think anybody would say that. Also playing in, a historic kind of area for basketball, is big too. But at the end of the day, it's one of 82. Win or loss, we're going to learn from it, come back the next game, try to be better than we were today. But at the end of the day, you never take a win for granted because they're not easy to come by in this league. So we understand that, but we also understand the bigger picture.
Last one for Chet. Anybody else? Thanks, Chet.
Y'all have a good night.
Shai, this game seemed kind of similar to the San Antonio game where they hit a bunch of threes in the first half and you guys just kind of stayed committed to your game plan. What kind of mental toughness does it take for you all on the road to be able to just kind of dig in and do what you plan to do?
Yeah, to win on the road, regardless, like you have to punch first, obviously, because the crowd and the atmosphere and they're in their comfort zone, and then you have to be very disciplined, and those are the things we focused on, just punching first. Trying to throw the first punch in the game, and then making sure that we followed the game plan and stuck to it for the full 48 minutes. And we did enough of it tonight. We had some lulls, but we were pretty good. That's obviously a really, really, really good offensive team. I think they're the best in the league offensively, and we held them. It felt like decently tonight.
And then just. What'd you make of Chet's night overall, the competitiveness, and then also the versatility of just the sheer number of things that he was able to do?
Yeah, Chet was really good tonight. He was impressive. We're going to see him get more and more comfortable as the games go on. But he was special. He was aggressive from the get. He just played his game, and he let the game come to him, and that's who Chet Holmgren is. That's who he was before the injury. Obviously, you can't control things like that, but he did a great job of taking what life gave him and got better from it. And we're going to continue to see him to blossom because of it.
Shai, with Chet and iHeart, obviously I think people have been waiting on a strong enough sample to kind of judge that. But for those two to do what they did in the second quarter with circumstances they hadn't had, I mean, you're not in that lineup, Dub's not in that lineup. Like, what did you see from that group to start the second and those two specifically?
Yeah, I mean, to me, like you said, Dub's out. He's not in that lineup, but Chet is that caliber of player, and him coming back, he's been taking a back seat role wise, just because he's missed so many games, and that's like hats off to his sacrifice. But I knew that with the absence of Dub, that he would step into that role very confidently, very easily. I think that's what we saw tonight. He was special tonight from the get-go.
And I imagine you noticed, but with the win tonight, you guys clinched a playoff spot. I know you didn't make a big deal out of that last year, but to do it even sooner this year, how are you framing this season and sort of what that means to do it in early March, mid-March?
Yeah, it means we got better than we were last year, and ultimately, when you look up, that's all you can ask for. You got better. You put the work in, put the time in, and I think that's, like you said, we achieved it earlier. And I think that's all it really means, that we took steps in the right direction. We all got better, and we, I guess, checked the goal off the list a little bit earlier than last season. We have a lot more to do.
Shai, how significant is this win against this champion team in the Boston Celtics? I mean, you did it before, you do it again. No Chet last time, no Jalen this time. Just how significant is this win?
Yeah, it's huge. Like, just because they've done it, like because they've done what we're trying to do, the games against them are always going to be heightened. They're always going to be a little bit more exciting. They've, like I said, achieved what we're trying to accomplish, and there's no better test in the NBA. Like, you play for late June, and they're the team that won late June. So playing against them is always fun, always a really big challenge, and something that we get to test ourselves against. And I guess we passed 2 tests so far.
And just how in that second half, just how things played out, you created that separation. Last 2 minutes, all of a sudden they're the ones, desperate to potentially foul and all that. Just like, what do you say to your teammates after such a significant win like this? And, especially in this building where, to be honest, last time I was here, there was confetti coming down. Like, It's significant, right?
Yeah, like, it's what happens when you trust the game plan, you trust each other offensively, and you do the little things to earn a win. Like, every night in the NBA is going to be different. Every opponent's different. Sometimes teams shoot better than expected, worse than expected. But regardless, every night's going to pose an opportunity to earn the win. And we did those little things tonight to do so.
Circling back to the playoffs, championship talk, do you feel this team's playing championship basketball right now?
No, we have a lot to get better at. To play the final game of the season in late June is a long ways away. I would hope we're not playing our championship basketball today. I hope we get, how many months is that? 3. I guess we have 3 months to get better, and I hope we get better and are playing way better basketball than we are now by then.
You have played the last 3 games between Denver and the Celtics. What is your opinion about the results of these three games? And obviously, you are having a great season, and your name is on the top of the MVP conversation. What is your opinion about that also?
The games, we would like to go 3-0. Obviously, we went 2-1 against really good opponents, the last 2 champions. So, good test for us. I go back to what I said, like, no matter who you play at this level, the game is going to pose its challenges, and you have to figure out a way to win. And we did so 2 to 3 nights, and we'll take it. And then the MVP conversation, it's stuff you dream about as a kid. It's an honor to be a part of. It's super fun. Yeah, it's without my teammates, it wouldn't be possible. So I appreciate them putting me in this position and trusting me to lead this group in the way that I am.
Do you think that you have to do something extra to try to get the prize?
Absolutely. Like, I think I have to continue to get better. And it's not even about the prize. It's just about who I want to be as a basketball player when it's all said and done. I have to continue to get better on both ends of the floor. And hopefully I'm not the best version of myself today.
So we'll do 2 more. We got 1 there, and then to Steve, and then we're done.
You were just talking about going against the Celtics because of the champs. It's this kind of test. What's like the thing you see in the way that they operate that shows what that kind of championship mentality or whatever it is? And then based on what you saw tonight, what you've seen all season, how do you think you guys are stacking up with that?
They don't flinch or budge. Like, when you play against them, they are confident, and they know what they're trying to accomplish out there on both ends of the floor, and they do it at a confident, high level. And I think that's what makes them so good. Now, whether the ball goes in or out for them doesn't deter or doesn't change how they play or the way they play. I think that's pretty impressive. And then what was your second question? I forgot.
What do you guys have compared to that? How do you see that identity within yourselves?
Or
whatever you think your championship identity would be.
Yeah, I don't know. We're trying to achieve one, haven't yet. We're going to try to be the best version of ourselves going forward, individually and as a group, and see where that takes us. And if we don't get it, we're going to keep trying and get better this offseason, but it's definitely somewhere after.
Shai, you played against a tough crowd here in Boston. Every time they made a rally, you guys have an answer. You didn't get rattled. Did maturity step up tonight?
Yeah, absolutely. We know what it was going to be on the road against a really good team. They're going to go on runs. They're going to make plays. They're, like I said, they're a really good basketball team, and that's what the game's about. It's about withstanding runs. It's about being connected, and I don't think anybody's more connected than us as a group, and it played in our favor tonight.
Thank you, Shai.
Mark, much like in San Antonio, about a week or so ago, you guys seem to really maintain your game plan discipline and not overreact to the made threes early. What did you like about your defensive effort, particularly in the second half?
Yeah, I that was exactly it. I thought, we had Denver shot like a historic number from three, percentage-wise the other day, and a lot of guys that don't normally make 3 or 4 threes in a game made them. We lost the game, and the game starts tonight. Thought we got decent contests on a lot of those. I thought the rebounding hurt us more than anything in the first quarter, and our ability to just kind of stick with it and not overreact, not start getting jumpy. That's when you really get in trouble against them, because you end up giving a higher quality three when you're like running by them. They're so good at passing the ball. So I just thought our maturity, our discipline to the game plan through the ups and downs of a tough 48-minute game was a really positive thing for us tonight.
And then I just want to ask you about Chet, and him playing with tenacity is not new, but what'd you like best about the way that he impacted the game on both sides of the floor?
Yeah, I thought he was really good defensively, and he had to use a lot of range defensively tonight, with the way they play and how much they stretch you out, and Horford being more of a stretch five, and he did a lot of switching. He was on an island against the best guys on their team on a lot of possessions. So he did a great job there, and then just really impressive. He's not happy with how he played the other night. It was his first back-to-back, and he didn't have a great game, and you could kind of tell it bothered him. He didn't say anything, but it's just impressive to see how he kind of channels that into like a really, steps into a real competitive role tonight and plays really well. It's just impressive competitiveness.
Mark, obviously, those minutes without Shai tonight were probably especially under the microscope from viewers because of Jalen being out, and it felt like those minutes to start the second were important. Just what you see from that lineup, and maybe Chet and Ihart specifically.
It's been pretty good all year. Like I've said, I think because of Shai's brilliance and how well we play with him on the court, it can make it a bigger issue than it is. But those guys did a great job. They did a great job defensively. I thought the zone was really effective in the second quarter. And then a really good job to start the fourth and not have to overextend he or Lou. It got us off to great starts. So it was a 48-minute effort. It was a hard game to win. They keep coming. They shoot the threes so they can cut into leads quickly. There was a lot of lead changes. And I just thought the team's poise and discipline and competitiveness was on display tonight.
And with Shai, like the spots they force him to, I don't know how often you feel like you've seen that where they, force him to the nail and collapse like that. Like, what'd you make of the way he responded to how they tried to defend?
Yeah, they played a lot of zone. They played, they were really trying to change, coverages. It gave us a lot of different looks, as they do, and I think the key against their team is not to try to diagnose every possession. You just got to kind of play and trust your instincts. And I thought the guys did a great job of that tonight. The attacks were really sharp. He in particular, I thought, had a great blend of his passing and his attacks, and it didn't seem to bother him very much. I thought he played really under control at a good pace and still got his stuff, got his teammates involved. He played really well.
That second quarter, you experimented with a lot of unique stuff with Chet, whether his role offensively, the way you use him in that 2-3 zone. How are you seeing him kind of stepping up to becoming someone who can just fit into so many different roles and plug so many holes for you?
Well, I thought last year getting as much mileage on the car at the 5, was good for him, and to the point where that's like pretty reliable for us. Like we're pretty confident. We started him at the 5 tonight. We closed him at the 5 tonight. He can kind of like fall back into that role, quite seamlessly. And so it's allowing us to kind of stretch the other stuff with the addition of Hart. And he's done a great job. He's learning. I thought even from game to game, last game he got stuck on Murray a couple times and Porter once in transition, and he probably gapped those guys too much for guys that are jump shooters. And then tonight when he was stuck on Tatum, he was really out of the water against them, and so just great growth. An improvement in a short period of time, and he'll keep getting better. He cares so much. He's just going to improve and improve.
The Celtics, they broke their franchise record, which is pretty hard for them to do with the amount of threes they take. How important is this if you guys end up meeting each other in June, that you can survive one of these games where they get off as many threes as possible and you're still able to work away at it?
Well, we're in March, not June, so focused on March. But I think the biggest thing against them is you got to just understand that they're going to make some tough shots. They're going to make some tough plays. They're going to make threes. I mean, White in the first quarter, I thought we got a nice contest on a lot of his stuff, and he's just banging those shots, and you just can't overreact. You stick to the plan, but it takes maturity. The guys want to win, and there's a tendency sometimes to want to do more, but sometimes that's not the best thing when it comes to closeouts. And I just thought the guys showed great poise and maturity through that tonight.
Anyone else?
Chet and Hartenstein has been injured for most of the season. How do you see them playing together now?
It's a growth process. We've had steps forward and steps backwards, but week over week it's been very good. It's something that we certainly want to have sharp before we get to the playoffs. We're going to use it at different times. Obviously we brought Hart off the bench tonight and used it in the second unit tonight. We'll keep moving around, but we'll use it every night between now and the rest of the season, just so we continue to learn about it and they continue to learn how to play inside of it.
I wanted to ask you about the secondary playmaking you got, particularly from Cason late in the game as they trap Shai.
He made a big shot left wing, and then he had the drive when they doubled him, which was a situation we saw against Denver. So again, good growth by the team. We'd like to be perfect every night, but we're not going to be. And when we're not, we want to learn from it and improve as quickly as possible. And that's been the mark of our team. The guys do an unbelievable job of that. But he was really good tonight. He was good on those point of attack guys. He was really competitive. The ball handling was helpful in the second unit and at the end of the game with Shai, with how much pressure they applied. And so he just keeps getting better. But he's been doing it all year. He's been improving all year.
Joel?
Mark, it feels like Boston is one of those teams that maybe tries to hunt matchups about as much as any team, and it felt like they're going at Daigneault a lot. They're going at maybe Cason in some lineups. How do you think those guys handled those sort of circumstances?
Great, against them. I mean, with the shooting and the way they move it, they're like a machine. When you put two on the ball, and so. You can in some situations. There's situations where we do it, or parts of the game where we do it. But if you just do it, if you give them a dosage of that every possession, it's going to be a long night. So at some point, you just got to sit down and compete. And I thought the compete level tonight, in those situations was great. Daigneault did a great job. He had his chest on those guys. I thought Wiggins, he had a steal on a post entry in the second half. K. Rich was really good in those situations. Shai was really good in those situations. Chet, like I talked about. So against this team, you're going to give something up, and you can't just throw two on the ball all game, or else they're going to be teeing up open threes.
Anyone else in the room? Yeah. We can go last one. Can you grab the mic, please, sir?
Like you said, it's March, not June, but when you have a stretch like this with Denver, and then Boston, does that stretch get your attention?
Yeah, every game's a test, and we need to use every game to improve, and so we can't choose the opponent. But when you play against elevated teams like this, especially on the road tonight, it's a real opportunity to improve. And so we take these games seriously. We want to see what we have. We want to see what we can learn. We won tonight. We can learn from that. We lost the other night. We can learn from that. But yeah, we got to use all these games. We got to squeeze all the juice out of all these games that we can. Our team clinched a playoff berth tonight, which we're excited about. So we just got to keep improving up until that point comes.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you.